Maria leaned forward across the table, candlelight flickering gently in her eyes as she smiled. It was that warm, shy smile, the one that made everything else around me fade away. My heart beat faster, and I felt my palms grow slightly damp. "You look happy tonight, Daddy," she said softly, tilting her head a little to the side. Her voice was like music, sweet and sincere, carrying a hint of playful tenderness that I'd been craving for so long. "I am," I admitted, trying to keep my voice steady, "because I'm here with you." She reached across the table and took my hand, squeezing it gently. Her touch felt electric, like coming alive again after years spent numb. My throat tightened, but I fought to hide it. "I'm glad you're here," she whispered, her eyes fixed firmly on mine. "I missed you so much this afternoon." "I missed you too, Maria. I can't believe how much, actually." I laughed lightly, nervous at admitting how completely she'd consumed my thoughts. "It's a little scary," she laughed gently, squeezing my hand once more. "Don't be scared, Daddy. I'm not going anywhere, promise." Her reassurance relaxed my shoulders, and for a moment I let myself believe it fully. I took a deep breath, trying to commit this moment to memory. The glow of her soft skin, the way her dark eyes sparkled, the quiet noise of the busy Manila. Street outside, somehow distant yet comforting. "You know," I began slowly, trying to pick the right words, "before I came to the Philippines, I honestly thought I'd never feel this way again." She tilted her head, curious. "Feel what way, Daddy?" I hesitated, suddenly aware of how exposed I felt, but decided to push forward. "Loved, maybe. Wanted, definitely. After my divorce, and I guess I'd just forgotten what it was like to matter to someone." Maria's eyes softened with compassion. "You matter so much," she whispered earnestly. "More than you even realize." I felt a warmth in my chest spread slowly, easing old wounds I'd long believed could never heal. "You make me feel young again," I admitted quietly, smiling. She giggled lightly, eyes playful now. "You are young, Daddy. Age is just numbers." I chuckled softly. "Numbers that add up pretty fast," I joked. "I never expected someone like you, so beautiful and young, to notice someone like me." Maria shook her head slowly, smiling warmly. "You see yourself differently than I do," she whispered. "I don't care about age. All I see is someone who cares deeply, who makes me feel safe. Isn't that what love is?" Hearing her say the word love sent chills through my chest, and I quickly brushed a thumb over her fingers. "Love is complicated," I said carefully. "I've loved before, Maria, and it left me broken." Her face became serious for the first time. "I'm sorry about what happened before. But I'm not her, Daddy. You can't punish yourself forever because someone else didn't see how amazing you are." My chest tightened again. She always knew exactly what to say. I'd told her only bits about the divorce, about how my ex-wife had told me she didn't love me anymore after 30 long years together. I thought I'd never be able to trust anyone again. Yet here was Maria, effortlessly breaking through every wall I'd built. "I'm trying not to," I admitted softly, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's just hard to forget sometimes." Maria leaned closer, her eyes steady and reassuring. "Maybe you don't have to forget, Daddy. Maybe you just have to let someone new in. Let someone love you for real this time." My heart raced, my pulse echoing softly in my ears. Was this really happening? Could I let go of all that hurt? Could I truly open myself up again, after all these lonely nights spent wandering empty streets, feeling unwanted and invisible? I took another deep breath and nodded, slowly. "I'd like that," I finally said, trying to keep my voice from shaking. "I'd really like that, Maria." She smiled again, brighter now, her eyes gleaming with gentle victory. "Good, because I already love you, Daddy. I hope that's okay to say." My chest filled completely now, overwhelmed by happiness and a cautious hope I'd promised myself never to feel again. "That's more than okay," I murmured, voice heavy with emotion. "I love you too." For a long moment, we simply sat there, fingers intertwined, silently absorbing the weight of what we'd both admitted. I glanced around at the simple restaurant, at couples chatting quietly at nearby tables, feeling a sense of belonging I hadn't felt in decades. Maybe this could be home, I thought silently. Maybe Maria could finally fill the emptiness that had haunted me since my divorce. Maria squeezed my hand gently, breaking my thoughts. "You seem far away now, Daddy," she teased lightly. I laughed, shaking my head. "Not far away, just thinking about how lucky I am right now. I don't deserve you." She frowned playfully. "Don't say that. You deserve happiness more than anyone I've ever known. You deserve all the love in the world, Daddy." Her voice broke something in me, releasing a wave of emotion I'd been fighting to keep hidden. My eyes stung briefly with tears, but I blinked, them back quickly. "You don't know how badly I needed to hear that," I confessed quietly. Maria nodded knowingly, her smile gentle. "Maybe I do. You're not alone anymore." I stared at her deeply, wanting desperately to believe that this was real. Permanent, not another cruel illusion. "Promise?" I asked softly, barely breathing. She leaned in closer, her eyes sincere and unwavering. "Promise, Daddy, forever." In that instant, all doubt dissolved. My worries, loneliness, and fears faded into the shadows as Maria leaned forward and gently kissed my cheek, her soft voice whispering again, "Forever." As we sat quietly holding hands in the gentle candlelight, I finally let myself trust completely. The walls I'd built around my heart had finally crumbled, surrendering entirely to Maria's whispered promise. For the first time in years, I truly felt like I'd found home again. After my divorce, I spent most nights sitting alone in the dark, staring at the empty walls of a house that no longer felt like mine. The silence was deafening, broken only by the whispers of regret echoing inside my head. I'd pick up the phone sometimes, scrolling through contacts, realizing I had no one left to call. Family stopped answering after a while. My grown children caught in the wreckage of a marriage they blamed me for ruining. "We need space," my daughter had told me, her voice cold and distant over the phone. "It's too much, Dad. You have to let us go for a bit." So I let go, drifting further into isolation. It hurt, but part of me felt I deserved it. I was drowning in self-blame, becoming numb to anything resembling hope. Retirement came quickly, a forced milestone that felt like a final push off a cliff. With nowhere else to turn, I decided to leave America. The Philippines promised a simpler life, a fresh start by the ocean, far enough from my past to pretend it didn't exist. But loneliness followed me here too. My small apartment in Manila felt even emptier, and I spent days wandering aimlessly through the crowded streets, just another foreigner lost in a sea of unfamiliar faces. I stumbled into a small cafe one afternoon, exhausted and defeated, simply seeking escape from the heat. Sitting alone in the corner, I barely noticed the waitress approach until she spoke softly beside me. "You look tired, sir. Are you okay?" Her voice was gentle, sincere enough that I lifted my eyes in surprise. "Just the heat," I lied quietly. She smiled warmly, pouring water carefully into my glass. "Take your time. Maybe some cold drink will help." I nodded absently, appreciating the kindness I hadn't expected. As she turned to walk away, I caught myself watching her, a small, graceful woman with bright eyes and an easy smile. When she returned with a cold drink, I thanked her softly, not expecting her to linger. But she hesitated beside my table, smiling gently. "You know, I've seen you here before. Always alone. Do you live nearby?" she asked curiously. "I do," I admitted reluctantly. "Just moved here." She tilted her head, eyes narrowing playfully. "Retired?" "Yeah." I sighed quietly, almost ashamed to admit it. "Forced into retirement, I guess." "Forced?" she asked softly, clearly sensing the heaviness in my tone. "My wife, ex-wife," I corrected quickly, "decided one day she didn't love me anymore. After that, nothing really mattered. The job, the house, even family." My voice cracked a little, surprising even myself with my honesty. "Sounds lonely," she whispered gently, her eyes steady on mine. I nodded, swallowing the lump forming in my throat. "More than you know." "Maybe," she said thoughtfully, pulling out a chair beside me. "But you're here now. New place, new people. Maybe you just need someone to remind you it's not the end of everything." I stared at her for a moment, searching for the sincerity behind her words. "Why would you care?" I finally asked, feeling suddenly vulnerable. She reached out slowly, placing a gentle hand on mine, her touch warm and reassuring. "Because everyone needs someone who cares even if they think they don't." I wanted to pull away to shield myself, but something in her softness held me there. "What's your name?" I asked quietly. "Maria," she smiled gently. "And yours?" "Jack," I whispered, feeling a faint smile cross my lips for the first time in months. "Nice to meet you, Jack," Maria said softly, her fingers still resting on mine. We talked that afternoon, her laughter easy, genuine. She listened intently, even laughed at my clumsy jokes, something my ex-wife had stopped doing years ago. Each word, each smile chipped away at the loneliness I'd become so accustomed to. Hours passed unnoticed, and when I finally rose to leave, I hesitated. "Will you come again tomorrow?" Maria asked quietly, her voice hopeful. "I'd like that," I answered truthfully, feeling warmth spread through my chest. Days turned into weeks, and soon visiting Maria became the only thing I looked forward to. Every afternoon she waited at our usual corner table, always greeting me with a bright smile and gentle touch that slowly broke down the walls I'd built around my heart. I began telling her more about myself, admitting fears I'd buried, regrets that haunted me nightly. "I don't know if I'll ever stop feeling guilty," I confessed one afternoon, staring into my coffee. "For what?" Maria asked gently, placing her hand softly over mine. "For letting my family down, my daughter especially. She blamed me, Maria, and I think she's right. I failed them all." Maria squeezed my hand gently, shaking her head slowly. "Maybe you weren't perfect, Jack, but nobody is. You deserve forgiveness too." "Do I?" I asked bitterly, feeling tears well in my eyes. "After all the pain I've caused?" "Pain happens," she whispered softly, "but life gives second chances. Maybe this is yours." "You really think so?" I asked weakly, desperate to believe her. "I know so," Maria whispered gently, leaning closer, her eyes sincere and reassuring. "You didn't find me by accident, Jack. Maybe we both needed saving." Her words resonated deeply, filling an emptiness I'd thought would never fade. I took a deep breath, suddenly feeling lighter. "I want to believe you," I admitted quietly, barely breathing the words. Maria smiled warmly, squeezing my hand tightly. "Then do, Jack. Let me help you believe again." I stared into her eyes, feeling something shift inside me, something hopeful and fragile. For the first time since my divorce, I allowed myself to think that maybe Maria was right. Maybe I did deserve another chance, another shot at happiness. "Okay," I whispered finally, feeling my walls crumble completely. "I'll try." Maria nodded slowly, smiling gently. "Good, that's all I ask." Sitting in that quiet cafe, holding Maria's hand tightly, I finally let myself hope again, desperate to believe I'd found my second chance. "I don't want to be a burden, Daddy," she whispered, her eyes fixed on the floor as she folded one of my shirts and placed it gently in the drawer. I want to help, not take." I sat on the edge of the bed, watching her, my chest tightening with something I hadn't felt in years. "Maria, listen to me," I said quietly, reaching out to take her hand. "You're not a burden. You're the best thing that's happened to me in a long time." She turned to face me, her eyes glossy. "But my family, my dad's in the hospital again, and my little sister might have to drop out of school. I didn't want to bring it up, She paused, biting her lip. "I feel ashamed." I squeezed her hand gently. "Don't be, let me help, that's what partners do, we look out for each other." She hesitated, then leaned in and rested her head on my shoulder. "You always say the right thing," she murmured. "You make me feel safe." I kissed the top of her head and pulled her closer. "That's what I want. I want to be your safe place, Maria." The next morning, I transferred money to her sister's school and wired funds for her father's treatment. She cried when I told her, held me for what felt like hours. "Thank you, Daddy," she whispered against my chest. "I don't know what we'd do without you." Those words wrapped around me like armor. I didn't care about the money. What mattered was the way she looked at me. Like I mattered. Like I was saving someone again. "Daddy," she said one evening while we sat on the couch, her legs tucked under her. "You ever think about us long term?" I turned to her, surprised. "What do you mean?" "Like building something together. A future. Maybe a house someday. Not just this little apartment." My heart swelled. "You see a future with me?" She nodded, smiling. "Of course, don't you?" "More than anything," I said, barely able to breathe. "You've changed everything for me, Maria." She placed her hand on my knee, looked up with soft eyes. "Then let's dream together, Daddy." I started looking at small plots of land outside Manila, just browsing at first, but she'd lean over my shoulder, pointing at one she liked. "This one is close to my family," she'd say. "We could visit them often." I liked the sound of that, being part of something bigger, finally having someone who wanted me close. One night, after we'd had dinner on the balcony, she poured me a glass of wine and sat in my lap. "Do you ever regret helping me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. I looked at her, stunned. "Never. Why would I?" She played with the buttons on my shirt, eyes downcast. "Because it's a lot, and I know men get taken advantage of here." "Are you trying to tell me something?" I asked, my voice catching slightly. She looked up, a little startled. "No. No, Daddy, I know the stories. Girls using older men. I don't want you thinking that about me." "I don't," I said firmly. "You've never asked me for a single thing. I offered. That's different." She exhaled, visibly relieved. "You're right. I just needed to hear. You say it. The more I gave, the more loved I felt." She'd make breakfast every morning, surprise me with little notes in my wallet, call me 3 times a day just to say she missed me. Every time she called me Daddy, it did something to me, filled a space I didn't know was still empty. I'd gone so long without affection, without touch or purpose, that being needed felt like being alive again. One afternoon, I handed her some cash for groceries. "This should cover the week," I said. She kissed my cheek and smiled. "You spoil me." "You deserve it," I told her. "You make this place feel like home." "You make me feel like I finally have one," she said, hugging me tightly. Later that week, she showed me hospital receipts on her phone. "They gave him new meds. They're expensive, but the doctor said they'll help." I nodded and pulled up my banking app. "How much more do we need?" She hesitated, then showed me the number. "I hate asking." "You're not asking," I said. "We're solving it together." She hugged me hard, tears in her eyes. "I love you, Daddy." I started noticing how easy it became to say yes. New school shoes for her brother, done. A tablet for her niece, sure. It all felt like family. And for the first time in years, I wasn't just floating. I was anchored. One night, while we were lying in bed, she whispered, "Do you ever wish you had real kids here?" I turned to her. "I do," I said honestly. "But this feels like the closest thing I've ever had." She leaned over and kissed me softly. "Then I'll be your family, Daddy, forever." I wrapped my arms around her, staring at the ceiling. I didn't care about the money. I didn't care what anyone else thought. I had Maria. She made me feel needed, wanted, whole again. Every time she called me Daddy, it reminded me I still had something to give. And I gave because loving her felt like the only thing that made sense anymore. I didn't realize it then, but I'd stopped keeping track of what I was giving. I was too wrapped up in what I thought I was building. Or maybe I just didn't want to know. All I knew was that I'd never felt more alive, more seen, more trusted. And that trust, that blind, full-hearted trust, was everything to me. "Where were you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady as she slid her sandals off by the door. Maria didn't look at me right away. "I told you, Daddy. My cousin was in the ER. I had to go." I watched her walk past me into the kitchen, her phone still clutched tightly in her hand. "You didn't answer my calls for 5 hours." "I was busy," she said flatly, opening the fridge. "I didn't think you'd freak out over one missed afternoon." "I'm not freaking out," I lied, swallowing the knot in my throat. I worry, Maria. You're gone all day, no message, nothing." She turned and looked at me finally, her brows raised. So now I have to report to you every hour? That's not what I said, I replied, my chest tightening. But I thought we shared everything. She exhaled sharply and grabbed a glass. You don't trust me? I do, I said quickly. I do, it's just different lately. What's different? She snapped, slamming the fridge door. Because I have a life outside this apartment? No, because I feel like I'm starting to lose you. She laughed once, dryly. Lose me? I've been sleeping next to you every night, cooking your meals, holding your hand through every sad memory, and now I'm the problem? I rubbed, my face heart pounding. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? She asked, stepping closer, voice low. I hesitated, then whispered, I found my envelope empty, the one in the drawer. Her eyes flashed. Are you accusing me of stealing from you now? I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying that I had cash there, now it's gone. Maria stared at me for a long moment, then shook her head slowly. Wow. So that's where we are now. I just want to know what's going on, I said softly. You've been distant. There are things you're not telling me. She walked past me toward the balcony, her back to me. You know what, Daddy? Maybe I don't tell you everything because every time I do, you treat me like a suspect. I followed her out. That's not fair. I've never treated you that way. You just did, she muttered, over some stupid money. It's not about the money, I said quietly. It's about feeling shut out. She turned to me slowly. I needed money for my brother. He had school fees due. I didn't want to ask you again. I thought you'd be mad. You should have just told me, I said, the edge in my voice softening. I would have helped. Maria's eyes welled slightly. I'm tired of always needing help. Her words cut through me and I reached for her hand. Maria, I don't mind. I love helping you. I just don't want to lose the honesty between us. She nodded, looking down. I'm sorry, I should have told you. I believed her. Or maybe I wanted to. Later that week, I ran into Jim at the cafe. He leaned over and whispered, Jack, I mean this kindly, watch yourself. Some of these girls know exactly what they're doing. I frowned. Maria's not like that. I hope not, he said, gently. But the stories are real. Guys get drained dry before they know what hit them. She's not using me, I snapped louder than I meant. You don't know her. Jim raised his hands. All right, just looking out for you. I left early, pissed off. They didn't understand. They didn't see the way she held me when I had nightmares. The way she called me daddy like it meant something. That night she came home late again. I was sitting on the couch, the TV flashing in the background. Hey, I said. She looked tired. Traffic. You didn't answer. Your phone again. It died, she replied, dropping her purse on the table. I stood slowly. Can I ask who you were on the phone with earlier? In the bathroom, I heard you whispering. Maria turned, eyes narrowed. You're spying on me now? I stopped. My voice cracked. I'm scared, Maria. She softened slightly. I was talking to my aunt. She needed help with rent. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to keep coming to you with every little thing. I nodded slowly, hating myself for doubting her. I'm sorry. She came to me and wrapped her arms around my waist. I love you, Daddy. Don't let the world make you question that. I'm trying, I whispered, but that night as she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling for hours. My head said something wasn't right, but my heart refused to let go. I wasn't ready to face the truth, whatever it was, because if she wasn't real, then maybe nothing I'd built here was, and I needed it to be real. I needed her to be real. I talked to the agent today, Maria said, sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling on her phone. There's a nice lot in Cavite, close to my family, flat land, not far from the main road. I looked up from my laptop, my chest tightening. Isn't that the one you showed me last week? She nodded. They dropped the price, but it won't stay long. It's a good deal. I closed the screen slowly. It's under your name, right? She looked up. Of course, foreigners can't own land here, remember? Right, I said quietly. Just making sure. She tilted her head. You don't trust me? I do, I said quickly. Too quickly. I'm just nervous. It's a lot of money. Maria set her phone down and stood. You said you wanted a life with me, Daddy. A future. This is part of that. I do, I replied, standing to meet her. It's my entire savings. Everything I worked for. So you think I'm just trying to take it? She said flatly. No, God, no. I reached for her hand. I'm just scared. I'm scared too, she whispered. But we can't build a life on fear. You said you trusted me. I do, I repeated, softer this time. Then prove it, she said, eyes locking onto mine. Let's build our dream. The next morning I stood at the bank counter, watching my account drain. The wire went out, all of it, years of work, years of saving, all sent to a woman half my age who I barely knew a year ago. But I told myself this was love, real love. I told myself this was the final leap, the thing that would seal us together. That night she cooked dinner, her smile bright as ever. You did a big thing today, she said, setting down the plates. I know, I said, trying to smile. I'm proud of you, she added, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. You're building a future, Daddy. I looked at her, waiting to feel that rush of joy. But it didn't come. Over the next week, her tone began to shift. Can you pick up some groceries? She asked without looking up from her phone. Sure, I said, standing up. Anything else? Just get whatever, she said, scrolling. Do you know what we need? 2 days later, she came home late, didn't say where she'd been. Agent meetings, she offered, slipping into the bathroom. I sat on the couch, staring at the empty doorway. At dinner, I said, maybe we should go see the land together. Maria didn't look up. It's just dirt right now. I'll take you when there's something to see. But I want to be part of it, I said gently. We're building it together, right? She glanced up. Of course, but I'm handling things. Don't stress. I nodded, trying to swallow the discomfort climbing up my throat. That night in bed, I reached for her. You okay? I whispered. She turned her back to me. Tired. Days turned into weeks. The warmth in her voice cooled. Her laugh became shorter, almost forced. When she called me Daddy, it didn't land the same. It sounded mechanical, performed. One morning, I said, You don't hold me like you used to. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It just feels different. She stood, brushing past me. You overthink everything. Maria, I said, following her, I just want to know you still feel what I feel. She spun around. I gave up my independence for you. I sleep in your bed. I take care of you. What more do you want? I want to feel connected, I said, voice trembling. I just spent everything I had on a future I can't even see. Her expression hardened. Then maybe you shouldn't have if you're going to hold it over me. I'm not holding it over you, I said, stunned. You think I don't feel pressure? She interrupted. Everyone asking me for updates. My family. Thinking we're rich now. You have no idea what it's like. I stood there, speechless. You haven't kissed me in 3 days. She turned away. You're being dramatic. That night, I sat on the balcony alone, watching the city flicker. In the dark, my gut twisted with something I didn't want to name. Doubt, fear, regret. I heard her laughing softly in the bedroom, on the phone. Her voice lowered when I stepped back in. Who was that? I asked, trying to sound casual. A friend from school, she said, not meeting my eyes. You never mentioned her before. She's new. We reconnected. I nodded slowly. Okay. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask more, but I didn't, because if I pushed too hard, I might break whatever was left. Instead, I said, I'm going to bed. She didn't reply. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to her hum softly as she brushed her hair. I'd bought land I couldn't own, for a house I might never see, with money I'd never get back, all for a woman who now spoke to me like a roommate. But I told myself it was just stress. Just a phase. She loved me, she had to. I closed my eyes and whispered, She loves you, she's just overwhelmed, this will pass. I needed to believe that, because the alternative was too painful to accept. The taxi stopped in front of our building just after noon, the sun burning through the Manila haze as I stepped out, still carrying the slight buzz from the cheap hotel coffee and the long ride back. I held a small paper bag in one hand, her favorite chocolates from the city, a little surprise. I remember smiling to myself, thinking she'd laugh and say, You spoil me, Daddy. I climbed the stairs slowly, tired but eager to be home. When I opened the apartment door, silence hit me first. The kind that doesn't just feel empty, it feels wrong. No sound of the fan, no scent of her jasmine lotion. I called out, "Maria!" But my voice echoed like I was shouting into a cave. I stepped inside, confused. The couch was bare. The little pink slippers she always left by the entry were gone. I walked toward the bedroom. The closet door was open. Her clothes, every last piece, vanished. The drawers were empty. Even the little makeup bag she kept under the sink was gone. I dropped the chocolates on the bed and whispered, "No, no, no, no." I rushed to the side table, yanked open the drawer. The envelope, where I'd started keeping emergency pesos since the bank wire, was gone. So was the little pouch of coins we kept for ride shares. The curtain swayed as I turned, as if the air itself was mocking me. I stumbled out onto the balcony, trying to breathe, trying to understand. Maybe she'd left in a rush? Maybe a family emergency? I pulled out my phone. No messages. I dialed. Straight to voicemail. Again, voicemail, a third time. My hands began to tremble. "Where the hell are you?" I said into the silence. I paced for 20 minutes. Then I went downstairs. Old man Leon was smoking near the entrance. He looked up, eyes lowering when he saw me. I nodded. "Hey, Leon, you see Maria today?" He tapped ash off his cigarette and hesitated. "Sir, I saw her leave yesterday with a man." My stomach dropped. "What man?" "Younger guy. Filipino. Short hair. They had suitcases." My mouth went dry. "Suitcases?" He nodded. "She said she was moving out. Looked happy." I swallowed hard. "You're sure?" He looked away. I didn't want to say anything. But yeah, I'm sure. I turned and walked away, the world spinning around me. Back in the apartment, I stared at the walls like they might answer me. The bed where she used to curl against me was stripped bare. The framed photo of us at the beach, gone. Even her hair tie that used to hang on the doorknob was missing. Sat on the floor staring at the wall. I don't know how long I stayed there. Minutes, maybe hours. My phone buzzed. A message. My heart jumped. I opened it. From an unknown number. "Don't try to find me, I'm sorry." That was it. I stared at the screen, rereading it like it would change. I typed, "Why?" then deleted it. I typed again, "Was it ever real?" Then I threw the phone across the room. I covered my face with both hands and let out a sound, didn't recognize, somewhere between a sob and a scream. I thought about the dinners, the mornings she'd bring me coffee, the nights we talked about names for the house. I thought about the way she'd say, "Daddy," right before kissing. My cheek, all of it, gone. I remembered Jim's warning, his calm voice. "Watch yourself, some of these girls know exactly what they're doing." I'd laughed at him, defended her, called him cynical. I was the fool. I walked into the bathroom, stared at my reflection. My face looked pale, older than usual. My hands were shaking. I said out loud, "You gave her everything." I meant it. My savings, my trust, my heart. All gone. I called the bank. The wire had cleared. Untraceable, irreversible. The apartment felt smaller by the minute. I opened the fridge. Empty. The freezer, too. I found a single spoon in the sink, the only thing she'd left behind. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at it. I thought about the moment I met her in the cafe, the way her voice made me feel seen again. I thought about how badly I wanted to believe that someone like her could love someone like me. And then I thought about the land I'd bought in her name, the house that would never be built, the future that never existed. I covered my face again, this time letting the tears fall freely. I didn't even try to stop them. I had nothing left to protect, only the truth, and it hurt more than anything I'd ever known. I called her again. My finger shook as I dialed the number for what felt like the 100th time. Each ring felt like a stab in my chest, and each voicemail message was a new wave of panic. "Maria, please pick up. I need to talk to you." I left on the message, my voice breaking slightly. I didn't know what else to say. I didn't know what I was hoping for anymore. I just needed to hear her voice, anything that would make sense of what had happened. I tried again and again. Hours passed. I tried to go on with my day, to distract myself, but every time the phone rang, my heart leapt, only to fall flat when it wasn't her. I went outside, bought a bottle of whiskey, something to numb the feeling of the pit that was growing deeper inside me. But I knew I couldn't escape it. I couldn't stop thinking about how she'd disappeared. Her things. Gone, the empty apartment, the silence that now filled the space where love had once lived. Finally, the phone rang. My heart jumped into my throat. It was her number. I hesitated, but then I answered. "Maria?" "Yeah, it's me," she said, her voice distant, cold. It wasn't the voice I remembered, the warm, affectionate tone that used to make me feel wanted. "I've been trying to reach you. Why did you leave? What happened?" I asked, my voice cracking, desperate. "I just need an explanation. Please, Maria." She sighed on the other end, the sound so final, so over it. "I don't owe you anything, Jack. I already gave you everything I could." I felt a chill run down my spine, like someone had poured ice water over me. "What do you mean? We had something real. We had a future. What happened to that?" She paused, and I could hear the sharpness in her breath. "Listen, Jack, I never loved you. You were just business. A way out. That's all this ever was." Her words cut through me like a knife. My heart stopped beating for a second. I was frozen, unable to speak, unable to breathe. "Business," I whispered. "All this time?" "Yeah. All this time," she said, her voice flat, emotionless. "You were an easy mark, Jack. You gave me what I wanted, and I gave you enough to keep you around. It's that simple." I could feel the world closing in around me. The anger, the hurt, the disbelief, they all hit at once. But I couldn't scream, I couldn't yell. I just stood there, a lump in my throat, my body shaking as I processed her words. "And you really think I didn't know that?" she added coldly. "You were never going to be the one. You were just the one who'd fund my life for a while." I opened my mouth to say something, but no words came out. The pain in my chest was so heavy, so deep. I wanted to plead with her, to ask her why, but I couldn't bring myself to say another word. She didn't give me time to respond. "I'm done, Jack. You need to let go. I'm done with this conversation." And with that, she hung up. I stood there, the phone still pressed to my ear, hearing nothing but the dial tone. It was as if the world had turned upside down in that one call, like I had fallen through the floor and landed in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. She had never loved me. I had been a fool. I sat down slowly on the couch, staring blankly at the wall. My mind spun in 100 directions. All the little signs I had ignored, the small lies, the disappearing acts, the sudden distance. All of it made sense now, but it didn't make the pain go away. I had built my life around her, trusted her in ways I hadn't trusted anyone in years. And in the end, I had been nothing but a stepping stone for her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw things. But I didn't. I just sat there silently, letting it wash over me, letting the reality sink in. The woman I had loved, who had called me daddy, who had made me believe that I mattered, had never cared at all. My mind flashed back to all the times I had defended her, all the times I had brushed off the warnings from my friends. How many times had I dismissed Jim's advice? How many times had I told myself that Maria was different? How many times had I ignored the red flags because I was too desperate for love to see the truth? The answer was simple. Too many. I wanted to blame her. I wanted to hate her. But the truth was, I had let this happen. I had been the one to ignore the warnings, the one who had fallen for the lies. I picked up my phone, staring at her contact name one last time, then deleted it. Just like that. She was gone from my life. The emptiness in the apartment felt suffocating. The silence was deafening. I couldn't remember the last time I had felt this alone, this small. I had given everything for something that was never real. I stood up, pacing around the apartment, looking at the place we had made our own. The empty space in the closet where her clothes used to hang, the empty side of the bed where she used to sleep. The small reminders of a life I thought we were building together, now just symbols of my own foolishness. I had loved her. And now, I would have to live with the fact that I had loved someone who never cared about me at all. The weight of it settled on me slowly, crushing me under its truth. I couldn't blame her anymore. I could only blame myself for not seeing it sooner. I had been a fool. I sat back down on the couch, looking at the phone on the coffee table. It was over. She was gone, and I was left with nothing but the painful realization that I had given everything to someone who had never given a damn about me. And somehow that hurt more than anything she could have done. The days blur together now. I wake up in the same small room, the soft hum of the fan the only sound filling the silence. It's been a week since I last spoke to Maria, since I heard her voice, flat and cold, ripping away every illusion I'd carefully built. I've called it quits in my mind, but in my heart it still aches like an open wound. I sit by the window sometimes watching people walk by, wondering what they're running from, what they're looking for. I used to think I was searching for peace. But peace doesn't come easily. I haven't left this room much. A walk to the corner store for food, a few drinks with Jim, where I could barely keep up the pretense that I was fine. I've sat in this chair for hours at a time, watching the world through the glass, feeling more like an observer than someone living in it. There's a quiet, almost comforting numbness to it now. The anger has drained out of me. The rage I thought would consume me when I realized what she'd done. It's gone. I've spent enough time sitting in this small space to realize that what hurts more than anything is not just the betrayal, but the part of me that allowed it to happen. I let it happen. I knew there were red flags. The whispers from Jim, the strange late nights, the way her affection started to feel more like a performance than a connection, but I told myself she loved me. I wanted to believe it so badly that I shut my eyes to the truth. I thought I was helping her, thinking I could be the man to give her everything she needed, that I could be the hero in her story. But there was never a story for me. My mind drifts back to all the times I defended her to others, brushing off their concerns, ignoring the obvious signs. I was too proud, too desperate to admit to myself that I wasn't seeing the full picture. I had a hard time accepting the truth when it didn't fit the narrative I had created. And the longer I ignored the signs, the more I sank into denial, until one day the whole world came crashing down. I think about all the things I gave her, my savings, my trust, my heart, and I realize now, with painful clarity, that she never asked for any of it. I gave it all willingly. I thought if I just gave more, I could fill the hole in my heart, the one left by a lifetime of loneliness, and I thought it would make her love me more. But it never worked like that. It wasn't about what I gave her, it was about what she took, and I let her. But even now, after everything, I don't feel anger. I feel empty. There's no hatred left for her, no resentment, only a quiet sadness that fills the room with each passing hour. I wonder how much of me was real, and how much of it was just a story I told myself because I was afraid of being alone. Maybe I'll never know. But I'm beginning to accept that it doesn't matter anymore. I pick up the phone, scroll through old pictures of her. I don't even know why. Maybe I'm searching for some trace of the person I thought I knew, or maybe I'm just too damn lonely to let go. I find a photo of us at the beach, her hand in mine, her smile genuine, or at least it felt genuine at the time. I stare at it for a while, feeling the weight of the memory in my chest. But it's just a picture, a moment in time. It doesn't matter anymore. I set the phone down and take a long breath, letting the emptiness settle in. It's a strange thing, this feeling of letting go. I expected it to hurt more, but it's almost like a release. I'm not angry at her anymore, not even angry at myself. I'm just here, sitting in this room, trying to figure out who I am now. That everything I built has fallen apart. I've learned a painful lesson, one that I should have known long ago. Love isn't about giving everything you have to someone else, hoping they'll fill the hole inside you. It's not about the promises they make, the sweet words they whisper in the dark. It's about understanding that you're already whole. And anyone you invite into your life should only add to that, not take away from it. I didn't get that, not then, but I think I'm starting to understand it now. The sadness lingers, but so does a strange sense of clarity. I've been wrong about a lot of things, but I'm not the man I was when I first met her. I'm different now, slower maybe, but not broken. The pieces may never fit perfectly again, but I'm still standing. And that's something. I stand, up, walk to the small window and look out at the street below. People pass by, some laughing, some hurried, some lost in their own world. I feel like I'm one of them now, just another person in the crowd. And for the first time in a long time, I don't feel the need to chase anything. No more trying to prove myself, no more running from the past. I don't have all the answers, but I don't need to. I turn away from the window and walk back to the bed, sitting down slowly. The emptiness doesn't feel so heavy anymore. It's just a space, a place where something new can begin if I let it. Maybe I'll never have the life I thought I would, but I'm starting to realize that's okay. I can live with this. I can live with the truth. And in some strange way, that feels like freedom. I woke up this morning to the sound of rain, tapping softly against the window. A gentle, steady rhythm that made the world feel still. The room was small, just enough space for the basics. A bed, a tiny desk, a few personal things I managed to keep. I didn't need much anymore. I couldn't afford much. My savings were gone, and the life I once dreamed of was nothing more than a memory now. I didn't expect it to feel this quiet. The isolation doesn't sting like it used to. There's no Maria's voice calling me Daddy. No rush of emotions every time I tried to convince myself we were building something real. There's just me, this room, and the sound of my own thoughts. And for the first time in a long time, I don't feel like I'm running from something. I step out of bed and stretch, my feet cold against the floorboards. The house is old, but it's mine for now. It's a step down from what I had, but it's mine. I grab the small fraying towel and walk to the bathroom, turning the faucet with a quiet click. The water feels fresh, even though it's nothing compared to what I used to have. I can't help but smile a little at how simple it all is. After washing up, I head out to the market. The air is cooler here, less suffocating than Manila. The locals greet me with a kind smile, and I return it, cautious but sincere. I'm not used to being part of a community. I've spent most of my life moving from one city to the next, never staying long enough to form roots. But here, it's different. People wave, stop to chat, ask how I'm settling in. I can't help but feel like I'm finally in the right place, even if I don't fully understand why yet. I buy some fruit from an older woman who chuckles when I try to haggle. She says something I can't quite catch, and I laugh along with her, appreciating the warmth in her voice. She hands me an extra mango as if to welcome me to the village. I take it, nodding my thanks. It's small moments like this that make me realize how much I've been missing, a connection to the simple, human things. Later that afternoon, I take a walk along the beach, the waves crashing gently against the shore. I used to come to places like this to escape, to outrun the pain. Now, I walk not to escape, but to accept. The pain is still there, just beneath the surface, but it doesn't haunt me anymore. I've learned to carry it, to live with it, and to move forward despite it. The scars are there, but they're not all I am anymore. I sit on the sand watching the horizon, where the ocean meets the sky. The world feels infinite, and I feel small in a way that's comforting. There's no pressure here, no expectations. Just me, the waves, and the distant sound of the wind in the trees. The truth settles in slowly. I'm starting over with nothing. But maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what it took for me to finally see things clearly, to strip away the distractions, the illusions, and all the false hopes. It's just me now. And somehow, that feels like enough. I still think about Maria sometimes. About the life I thought I was building with her. But the anger is gone. The hurt is there, but it doesn't control me. I've stopped asking myself why I didn't see it sooner, why I ignored the signs. I've stopped blaming myself for being naive. It happened, and now I can only move forward. I've started making small connections with the people here, locals who have lived their whole lives in this quiet town, who know the value of a hard day's work and the peace of an honest life. They've shared meals with me, and in return I've shared my time. It's slow and it's simple, but it feels real. In the evenings, I sit outside my small house, watching the sky change as the sun sets. The colors stretch across the horizon, And for a moment, I forget about everything else. I breathe in the salty air, feeling more alive than I have in years. There's still so much I don't have. There are days when I wonder if I'll ever feel truly whole again. But I've learned something important in this new life. I don't need to have everything. I don't need a mansion or a future built on lies. I just need today. And today, I am at peace. I stand up, dust the sand off my pants, and head back toward the village, feeling a sense of calm settle in my chest. I'm walking at my own pace now, not running toward anything or anyone. I don't have all the answers, but I have time. Time to learn, time to heal. And for the first time in a long time, I think that's enough.